I'm just gonna cut to the chase and save you a whole bunch of time and money. Starfield is not a good game in any way, and Bethesda haven't made a decent open world RPG since Skyrim came out in 2011. But as usual, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let me get in depth and tell you why a game that's been made for a target audience just like me sucks more ballsacks than porn stars do on a daily basis. I've been playing and enjoying Bethesda titles since I first cut my teeth in Morrowind, and I've played almost every Fallout game since the dawn of the franchise. I also really love space games and open world RPGs, so a Bethesda developed open world space RPG should have been my dream game. Instead, I got a buggy, broken, badly designed, badly written, badly optimized, and frankly boring pile of shit that I'm just expected to swallow and be happy with because Todd Howard decided that real astronauts not being bored when they went to the moon the first time was a good reason to create countless empty and procedurally generated landscapes that do nothing to immerse you into the game and everything to make you bored. Okay, I'm clearly letting my anger get to me. So it's time to take a breath and start from the beginning. We begin the game as a nameless miner starting their first day on the job, and the first person we interact with immediately talks down to us like children in a rudely arrogant, condescending, and passive-aggressive manner, like we were worth less than the fecal matter stuck under her shoe.
Trayvon, just go to the office!
What'd I do?
Just go to the office!
What'd I do?
Go, just go!
What'd I
We very slowly walk into the mine, being told stuff we don't care about while witnessing boss lady shout at her employees and tell them they're doing everything wrong, while the NPCs act like wooden puppets that even Punch and Judy would have a hard time working with. These first few minutes gave me a really good preview of the quality of writing in the rest of the game, but at this point I ignored it because I was still enchanted by the rose-tinted glasses stuck firmly on my face, and I was really happy to be playing a Bethesda open-world RPG in space! And I really wanted to sink my teeth into the juicy bits and immerse myself into the game world and story deeper than the Mariana Trench. Believe it or not, it took nearly 2 hours for me to get through the entire prologue, where we first encounter the MacGuffin that drives the main plot, finally access character creation, and are embroiled in the primary conflict of the game. And that's because the pacing is fucking awful. Why did I have to go through all of that unnecessary prologue just to lose my memories and have to go through character creation?
I don't know.
Wouldn't it have been better to just start with a short sequence where your character finds and interacts with the MacGuffin and then gets hit the amnesia whammy, leading to character creation? Well, yes, it would. But that would have been good writing, good pacing, and good game design, which this game lacks entirely. And the first 2 hours of this game left me bored to tears, so much so that I had to fight procrastination and better things to do, just to force myself to keep playing so I could make an objective opinion for this review, and that in itself says something. But getting back to the prologue portion, we mine for a while, which is exactly as fun as it sounds. And then someone spots a potentially dangerous situation, which boss lady decides is perfect for someone who's not even been on the job for an hour.
It was at this moment
Where I started questioning what the writers were trying to accomplish with that character, because she's clearly meant to be coming across as a strong, competent leader who takes no shit, but in reality is a shouty, angry, and incompetent leader who can't get her own people to do what they need to do without screaming in their face. And what kind of leader throws the new guy into what is potentially the most dangerous situation any of them has ever faced, as if that was the best idea in the world? Oh, right, someone who's incompetent at leadership and can't judge danger very well, which you'd think wouldn't apply to someone who runs an asteroid mining outfit that regularly gets attacked by roaming space pirates.
You are made of stupid. Your intellect is as weak as your dollar. Failure is your destiny. You disrespect yourself.
So we go into the danger.
I'm in danger!
And touch the MacGuffin which hits us with the amnesia whammy, and it's been so long since I launched and started the game that I am really bored and just want things to move along to something entertaining. But instead, I get introduced to character creation. Character creation is nowhere near as impressive as it's made to look. All the characters you make look very bland and very samey, which I guess is consistent with the rest of the game because all the NPCs, named or otherwise, look toy-like, bland, ugly, samey, very forgettable, and everyone, everywhere, has those dead Bethesda eyes I thought we'd left behind a decade ago. Similarly, character backgrounds seem really in-depth and interesting at first, but don't really add much to your game experience unless you choose one of the faction-based backgrounds. And those faction-based backgrounds were my first clue that Bethesda expected me to replay the game multiple times through, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when you take away those backgrounds as options for character creation, you're not really left with much. Now pay close attention, because this is going to be the first and last time I pay this game any kind of compliment.
This is the most beautiful day!
I actually really like the concept and idea of the NASA punk art direction.
But instead
Of using it to make a large variety of unique approaches to this style that could reflect the time periods and cultures of the people and worlds we interact with, they don't. Instead, they use it to make everything look the same and very boring. This also extends to the clothing and armor designs across the board, which all look like someone decided to take anything that could look cool, paint it with the boring brush, and put it on every other person so you can't tell the difference between anyone, anywhere.
Hey, no swag, dab.
There is next to no visual, auditory, or cultural differences between any people beyond the very surface level changes they make to people's accents and oddly used naming conventions, which are clearly meant to hint that all of humanity has become a single bland cultural whole. And while the game attempts to bring in a futuristic take on separate theologies, they all come across as if the writers had heard about the idea of religion one day in the pub while they were getting shit-faced, and decided to make a few of their own that have as much depth as an A4 sheet of paper. People and cultures aren't the same, and if humanity managed to colonize a galaxy, we'd have even more differences in addition to our commonalities, but everything and everyone is designed to be some homogeneous clump of not quite humanity, have about as much life and identity as a naked mannequin. Dialogue across the board is trite, cliched, uninteresting, and takes far longer than necessary. It often suffers in the same way it does with other modern games, in that it can often sound like something that would be said by someone in our time and in our society, which is incredibly counter-immersive and a sign that the writers need to hone their craft better. I don't need long conversations with NPCs that I don't care about because the developers didn't make them interesting in the first place. And what is it with every single female NPC talking down to us like children in a rudely arrogant, condescending, and passive-aggressive manner, like we were worth less than the fecal matter stuck under their shoes?
Deja vu.
Have the writers never met real women before? Hell, have they never met real people before? Because regardless of gender, in the real world people don't speak to each other like this, especially if they happen to think you may be a known dangerous corporate assassin for hire. And if you were to speak to someone like that in a real-life social setting, you might just have to catch hands being thrown. And if you did so in a professional setting, you'd be lucky to get off with a formal warning or getting sacked entirely.
You're fired. Goodbye.
After character creation, we finally get embroiled in the main plot by having more long conversations.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
I know I said this before, but the pacing has been terrible and staying engaged and immersed has been a genuine challenge, which is completely and utterly unacceptable in any kind of RPG.
I am shocked! Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
We get attacked by pirates, and the game finally introduces me to combat, which is terrible. The melee combat is the usual Bethesda shitfest. The gunplay is boring and the opposite of engaging. Enemies can easily be replaced by bland blocks with health bars, because all they are is sponges for your many bullets. And this also extends to ship combat, which is not very fun, well put together, or interesting. but we do get a bit of it before heading on with the main story mission, which takes us to New Atlantis. We meet up with the organization known as Constellation, where we are again talked down to like a child before adding our MacGuffin to the other MacGuffins. And
wait a minute!
Doesn't that just look like it's going to turn into some kind of portal type thing?
Don't worry about it! Don't worry about it, sweetheart! Go home now!
Because no one else puts 2 and 2 together, and the game keeps telling me the mystery is getting bigger with every step we take, instead of me actually discovering things. Which was my second major clue, that the writers on this game need to go outside and touch grass, because they don't know how to write a good story, they don't know how real human beings interact with each other, and they choose to ignore their failings in order to sniff their farts for as long as fucking possible.
Well, that's definitely shite.
At this point, I decided to do a few side quests here and there and to start following a faction mission line to get a flavour of what the rest of the game has to offer before I continued down the main story path, starting with the mission line for the Mantis.
I shiver with power, I ache with disease. I am that mantis.
Which I'd picked up by looting one of the very first sets of pirates I'd encountered in the game. Without getting into spoiler territory, the Mantis mission line was very reminiscent of the Silver Shroud mission from Fallout 4, and similarly ends up rewarding the player with some of the best armor in the game, and just like Fallout 4, it approaches storytelling with a morbid sense of humor, but this time it falls completely flat.
Yeah, that's not funny.
Because it doesn't fit in with anything else in the game. And it only works with Fallout because that franchise is as much a morbidly dark comedy as it is a survival story.
And then
I did a whole bunch of stuff in Neon that I can barely remember because, just like every mission in the game, it involved me going to a place, talking to people who took way too long to get to the point and say something useful, and then going to another place to talk to another person who takes way too long to get to the point, leading me to another person in another place with uninteresting dialogue, which takes way too long to get to the point, followed by a short, uninteresting, and easily resolved combat scenario, then followed by another conversation with another person, another place, that takes way too long to get to the point.
I hate repeating myself. Well, I've said that before, but I didn't mean to repeat it, guys. I hate repeating myself. Don't you hate it when something you hate keeps on happening?
I also followed the entire Crimson Fleet mission line until it broke near the end and wouldn't let me progress for reasons I was never able to figure out, but which also played countless other players across the internet, relying on console commands to get around them, or other esoteric methods in order to try and fix the issue. But most of the time there was no real fix or way to progress.
Can we fix it?
No, we can't!
This isn't even something that happens in only one questline, but in multiple throughout the game, which isn't acceptable for a game asking for this kind of price tag. Bethesda aren't an indie developer, and we really need to stop treating them like they are, because they keep repeating the same nonsense, time and again, while riding the coattails of Skyrim. Whether it be during missions or an exploration, nothing seems to have real consequences beyond NPCs attacking you. Theft puts you in prison, which you are quickly released from, and some of your money gets taken. You can't permanently kill quest NPCs, and there's pretty much only one way to accomplish anything, and one path to take anywhere, which is incredibly disappointing when compared to current year titles with far better offerings, like Baldur's Gate 3. Exploration itself is absolutely unengaging. In the open world delusion, it's constantly broken whenever you realize that you're actually in a tiny area with nothing of import or interest. The game overall feels more like a loading screen simulator than a vast galaxy to explore, and I would often find myself so bored that I intentionally entered combat areas just so I could find a bunch of people to shoot with all of my bullets, only to feel like I'd wasted my time doing another thing that just wasn't very fun.
In my not so humble opinion,
Starfield isn't fun at any point or in any way, which is the greatest sin a game developer can commit, and its lackluster box-ticking exercise of a video game left me tired, bored, sad, and
disappointed!
I get back to the main story and progress its predictably and already forgotten plot points until we finally face a proper antagonist in the form of the Helix, which seems to be a ship belonging to an advanced race who wants to stop us from getting the artifacts. Why?
I don't know.
But they say we shouldn't ask questions and keep being ignorant. Why?
I don't know.
My guess at this point in time was that they weren't even really aliens, but other humans who stayed separate from the rest of humanity because humans bad, and they're the best people to make decisions about the MacGuffin for all of humanity. And I wasn't proven entirely wrong, and if I can guess a key ending plot point this early on, then your writing clearly needs work. Character progression includes the buying and building of new ships, which is awkward and unnecessarily complex and time-consuming. The UI everywhere is horrendous, weapon crafting and customization is worse than in Fallout 4, and perks are terrible and take too many steps to get.
It was at this moment that he knew.
It was another clue and pattern I'd noticed. The game makes everything take far longer than needed, and it's clearly done to pad gameplay time data, so Bethesda can show off how many hundreds of hours people are putting into the game, as if that number were a good thing somehow, even though they're spending it on a subpar product.
Well, that's definitely shite.
But being the professional that I am, I continued with the self-torture that is Starfield and finished the main story quest over a total playtime of 8 days. 8 days of not doing very much and only being able to remember what happened because I was taking notes, none of which was spent with any quality exploration of RPG experiences, because Starfield isn't a video game. It's a loading screen simulator.
Yes, I can definitely smell shite.
The ending of this game is also a massive cop-out and doesn't really resolve many of the core questions, and it's just another sign of bad writers who don't know how to put a good story together. And for some reason, Bethesda really thought that New Game Plus being linked to the whole plotline was a really clever way of encouraging multiple playthroughs, even though the game has nothing interesting or fun about it that other games don't do far better by orders of magnitude. Which begs the question, why would I want to play again? The answer is I wouldn't. I didn't, and in fact I uninstalled the game the moment I'd finished the primary loop to its conclusion, just after the credits roll.
Alrighty then.
It's time to sum up and summarize. But this time, it's easy. Starfield is not a good game, and I can't in any good conscience recommend that anyone pay any money for it. That's not me advocating for piracy either, because Starfield is a waste of time and hard drive space, and isn't worth sailing the high seas for.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stay angry. I find that relaxes me.
And play some Super Mario Wonder to get the awful Bethesda taste out of my mouth. And as always, my people, take care of yourselves.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In space! Controls to